Power in genuine caring. And the theme for the weekend is restoration. That's a good word, isn't it? Restoration. Very relevant term. Restoration is a good word. It implies what? What does it imply? Original. Why? Why bring back? What happened? What happened to our state to bring it back to original? When you restore something, maybe it was stolen, maybe it was lost, and something was lost, something was stolen. And when we look at our society, not only here at Southern Adventist University, our homes, our institutions, our government, our society, a lot of restoration is needed. When we say something was stolen, it needs to be restored. Who is the greatest thief in this whole wide universe? Wow. He specialized in thievery. You know, he doesn't just like to steal money, he likes to steal souls. He is in the business of stealing souls, in the business of breaking up relationships. He is in the business of stealing our children. He is in the business of destroying our marriages. He's an expert at that. And I think when we visit together, I mean, you're a counselor, right? And how long have you studied? About 5 years, 6 years to get your doctorate?
About 6 years.
6 years. You know, students Southern major in psychology, 4 years. 6 years to be a professional counselor. We think that's a long time. You know, I'm not comparing psychologists to Lucifer. No. I'm just telling you, Lucifer majored in confusing human thinking. We need godly psychologists to counter the evil psychology of Lucifer. Why? Because he specialized in human mind and he plays psychological games with people in a very subtle way. Especially in these last days, he knows his time is short. And how long did it take him to finish his specialty? Well, you know, conservative Christians believe at least 6,000 years. And even he practiced his skill of deception on perfect angels. And none of us are perfect angels here. On perfect angels in heaven. And he deceived a third of them. Now, please be careful here. Are you listening to me here? And after he deceived the perfect angels, a third of them, he's applying his skills on us, poor human beings. And we're no holy angels. And we are dysfunctional. And we got problems and emotional hang-ups and insecurities. And he applies his skills of deception on us. After thousands of years of specialty, you know, in your case, you specialize in counseling for 6 years. He specialized in deception, psychological deception for thousands of years. And the reason I'm making this point is the only way to bring about restoration is through Jesus. Because only Jesus can defeat him. So when I talk to my friends in California and I said, have you checked, have you talked to the best counselor, psychologist, therapist? Oh yes, I have. I have the best. What do you mean? I said, have you talked to Jesus? You mean Jesus is a counselor? I never heard of it before. Well, Jesus created the human mind. He knows the heart. He knows the emotions. He knows our thoughts. And the Bible says he is what? The everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace, a wonderful counselor. He's a wonderful counselor. And by the way, he listens for hours. You can talk to him anytime. You don't have to make any appointments. And he doesn't charge any fee for listening. Amen. And he is God. And he is able to do exceedingly abundant beyond all we ask or imagine. So that's why I entitled the book and the seminar, Christ's way to restoration? I'd like you to think of 3 words. 3 words. And that summarizes the whole Bible, by the way. You look at the book of Genesis and chapter 1, and it's summarized by the word creation. Perfect creation. Adam and Eve were perfect. And then when Adam and Eve fell, I use a word in the book called decreation. We're in a state of decreation. And then at the end of the Bible that Jesus used, the New Testament wasn't written yet, and so what's the last book of the Bible Jesus used? Malachi. And by the way, the last 2 verses of Malachi conclude with restoration. Interesting. So we have these 3 words to summarize the Bible Jesus used: creation, decreation, and then restoration. And I'm going to tell you an exciting story about restoration with one of my students. Do you like to have stories? Do you like to tell you experiences? So you won't be bored? You don't want to be bored. I mean, can you imagine Dr. Samaan being a boring teacher? I mean, that would be terrible. Me being boring. Have you ever taken a class with Dr. Samaan? Yes. How was he like? Oh, he's boring. That would be a crime, you know. So I'm going to share with you an exciting story how a relationship with a student who was very difficult was restored because of Jesus. I'm going to share that with you because I want to share with you how these ideas work. And Lisa inspired me to share that because she shared an experience as well. Talking about boring, Dr. Blundell, I lived in Portland, Oregon some years ago. Okay? And there's an Adventist church in the city of Boring. There's a city called Boring, by the way. B-O-R-I-N-G. Have you ever heard of it before? It's on the map. About 30 miles east of Portland. There are about 800 members, Seventh-day Adventist members. And the conference, the Oregon conference, had the audacity to hire a pastor by the name of Pastor Dull. And so if you invited a Lutheran friend, a Catholic friend, to the Adventist church in Boring, you'd have to say, my friend, I like you to meet Pastor Dull of the Boring church. If I were the conference, I would simply place this pastor somewhere else. Because Dull is enough. And Boring is enough. Don't bring them together. So in this place, Advent Home, we don't believe in dull things and boring things, right? Right, Dr. Blundell? I mean, you make things interesting for the people, don't you? Yes.
You want a speaker here.
Huh?
Elder Dull wants a speaker here.
Oh, are you then implying that because you invited you a speaker, I'm not dull? Thank you. Thank you for the compliment. I just try to squeeze compliments out of people like that. Anyway, let's look at this text in Malachi. Malachi chapter 4 and verses 5 and 6. These are the last 2 verses of the Bible Jesus used. It's about restoration. God wanted to end the Old Testament on a note of restoration because our world needs to be restored. And this whole conclusion of the Old Testament is about restoration of what? For 5 bonus points for the final exam. Restoration of what? It's the restoration of the family. Now, why in the world God, in His genius mind, His big heart, says restoration is needed, but He is focusing on restoring the family? Why is that? Why is God thinking that way? Because I tell you something, even our evangelism as Seventh-day Adventists, we talk about the Sabbath, we talk about the state of the dead and the state of the living, we talk about prophecies and the health message, but somehow we don't have a sermon on restoring the family. Yet God is saying, this is my priority. I'm concluding the Old Testament with a message of restoration, especially restoration of the family. What does God have in mind? What's God thinking? Why is He doing this? Can you tell me? Why does God think the restoring of the family is extremely important? Because Can somebody tell me? Again, we have a final exam, 5 bonus points for every good answer. You might need it to shift you from an A- to an A. What do you think?
We are his family. He wants to restore his relationship with us.
Exactly. It's a very crucial thing. And could you please continue? Talk more about it. The family is very, very crucial in our society. Everything is affected by the family. Everything. I challenge you to find me anything in society, anything in the church, anything in the school, anything anywhere else in our world that's not directly affected by the family. And God knows in His wisdom, if you restore the family, you impact the whole society.
Amen.
What happens in the school is affected by the family. What happens in the church is affected by the family. What happens in society is affected by the family. And I believe with all my heart that the reason we have a financial crisis in America is because of the family situation. We have shifted our attention away from the old-fashioned virtues of honesty, integrity, hard work, discipline, respect, gratitude, to what? To just giving a good impression. Market yourself. You see, look good. And so therefore, there are people who get MBAs from Harvard and are very smart, but without character, and they know how to deceive better. So you have people like Madoffs, you see, who almost have no conscience. They don't mind if people's savings accounts and retirement funds are gone and stolen. Why? Because we have shifted away as a society from focusing on character, how to be honest, how to be genuine, how to be truthful, how to have integrity, how to have a conscience, to saying, let's just look good. Let's just have a good resume. Let's just impress people. Let's just market ourselves. And by the way, if you look at this text, the context of this text in Malachi is the day of the Lord, the coming of Jesus. So it's a very relevant message to our times because we are awaiting the coming of Jesus. Let me read it to you. Verse 5, behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet. That's a prophecy. I'll send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord, the second coming of Jesus. And he will turn the hearts of the fathers to children and the hearts of the children to their fathers. Turn the heart of restoring. I do a lot of counseling in my office. We have about 2,700 students, almost 3,000. And often when I have young people in my office, one of the questions I ask, because I want to live out this message of restoration. By the way, do you have heart-to-heart communication with your dad? No. Why not? I don't know. What kind of communication do you have? Well, my dad makes sure I have enough money to spend. My car is working well. And then my tuition money is paid. I'm not talking about that. That's wonderful. What a wonderful father and mother who provide all these blessings to you. I'm talking about heart-to-heart communication. No, not really. So in my ministry, I try to restore the hearts of the parents to their children, the heart of the children to their parents. Because that's the message of Jesus before His coming in the clouds of heaven. Now, some cases are difficult. I'm going to present you with a difficult case. About one of my students. Let's call him Johnny. He was a senior at the university. He attended Southern Adventist schools all his life. And he took Bible classes. By the way, in our schools, we offer Bible classes. You see, my philosophy on Christian education maybe is different. My philosophy is this. Christian education is more than giving good lectures, exciting lectures. It's more than dispensing information. It's more than that. It is that. It's more. In what way is it more?